Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Breakdown Besties podcast. I'm Ananya,
I'm Akshay.
and we are your Breakdown Besties. Combined, we have 14 years of experience writing for shows like Mismatch, Wedding.com, Rana Naidu, Inside Edge, Ishq in the Air, and Grahan on Amazon, Netflix, and Disney Plus, along with a host of other shows that got stuck on development hell but will hopefully see the light of day one day. With the Breakdown Besties podcast, our goal is to give you a somewhat authentic film school experience where we break down the scripts just like they would in film schools, the movies of iconic Bollywood films, and analyze the various techniques, tricks, systems used within those scripts so that you can break them down and use them again in your scripts and make them as iconic as the ones we analyze. And today we are going to be breaking down a really phenomenal film. OMG, oh my god. Let's yeah. Okay. Written by Bhavesh Mandalia and Umesh Shukla. This is the simple story of a man who doesn't believe in God and then goes on a journey of finding his faith.
Yeah.
Right?
I
Cool.
read that it's also based on a play, uh,
Kishan
Kishan versus
versus Kanaya.
Kanhaiya. Yeah. And
Yeah.
which is in turn based on a film called The Man Who Sued God.
God. Yeah.
Yeah. Fun.
Okay, so let's get into it like we do with the logline, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. So, what is your logline? Your logline is the guiding light of your film. When you get lost can't see the forest for the trees, and you're stuck in the weeds of the film, and you can't tell what you're actually writing about, कि ये film का मुद्दा क्या है, that is when your logline comes to the rescue. It will show you exactly what your film is about. Why? Because a good logline, a complete logline, a holistic logline contains these four basic elements, which are elemental to your film. They are one, your flaw, block, limitation, wound, need, whatever you want to call it. That is basically something within the character which has been holding them back, which has been stopping them, which has not been allowing them to grow, and not been allowing them to achieve element number two, which is their goal. The goal is why we watch the film. It's the journey we are going on. We want to see this character finally achieve their goal. That's why our audiences are sat in their seats. Then we have element number three, which is your conflict. Your conflict is your main story engine. It is basically a manifestation of the internal need, flaw, block, or wound in an external fashion. It keeps coming up, challenge after challenge, and presenting itself as an obstacle in the way of your main character. By overcoming this external manifestation of their internal flaw or need, the character is actually able to grow, to overcome what's been holding them back, and finally get one step closer to their goal with every passing challenge. And finally, we have element number four, which is stakes. Stakes are what your character is going to lose should they not achieve their goal. It is not simply not achieving your goal, it is going one level lower and losing something additional. Right?
Yeah.
So, in the case of Oh My God, let me read out my logline to you. I think it's actually fairly basic, but
Yeah.
yeah. So, when an atheist businessman's insurance claim is denied for it being an act of God, he sues God for compensation lest he lose his home, livelihood, and family. Simple, right? Yeah,
I
I
just
love
have a
it.
very big change.
Hmm.
You said he lost his home livelihood. I've written he lose everything.
Everything. Trauma. Yes. Yours is objectively better. So let's break this down into its four critical elements, right?
Yeah.
So in this case, we first have a block, right? His block is that he's atheist, that he doesn't have faith, he doesn't believe in God, he doesn't believe in a higher power. His goal is looking for compensation through winning the lawsuit.
Yeah.
The conflict is that he sues God. So an atheist is suing God. So we can imagine all the challenges that come his way, that you're disrespectful, you're insulting our religion. What do you mean that God doesn't exist? An extremely religious country. So all of those conflicts directly challenge the fact that he's an atheist.
Yeah.
And the stakes are that he loses everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Fairly simple. Yeah.
Let's do the hero's journey next. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what is your hero's journey? Your hero's journey is the structural spine of your film. Why? Because this is the journey that any character, any human being goes on when they embark on this mission of achieving something new in their life. Every time, even you and I have gone and done something new, we ourselves have experienced this same journey. It's just maybe not as clearly as we see it in films because unfortunately, our lives are not plotted by expert writers. So,
I mean, he is the expert, right?
correct. But we are also God. So we are the expert writers.
Such
So
key takeaways we've had from this film.
this film, yeah. I want to have a full separate metaphysical discussion on this film, but that's for a different podcast. So if anyone's doing that and wants to
Or maybe
invite
with
me,
different
I'm
people.
like so game. Yeah. Okay, so the reason this works is because in order to achieve your goal, you have to become a different person. You have to embody the identity of someone for whom that goal becomes natural. So when you go on this journey, you meet different turning points, which essentially challenge your identity and help you step into a new one and achieve this goal. So over here, you're going to have various beats and various turning points in your films where the emotional highs and lows of this journey are amplified. And when you have this, it's the emotional hits your audiences require every so often so that they stay in their seats and they continue following through on this journey. Huh. Cool. So I think the hero's journey also is fairly simple, right?
Yeah,
For
fairly simple. Yeah.
this one. Cool. So let's begin. The first we have is the ordinary world. The ordinary world is the world in which your hero exists before they have stepped onto the track, the path for achieving their goal. So this is where you establish what their flaw is, where they are, why they are the way they are, what time period it is, everything about their environment, their current world and circumstances, who they are. Right?
Yeah.
So in this, you have your ordinary world where we see Paresh Rawal's character as an atheist, and as an atheist who is so good at selling the myth of God that he has a shop of religious products, of murtis, of everything else. And he makes his living by peddling God while being a non-believer himself.
Yeah.
Now,
Monetizing God, he knows how to do very well.
very well, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. And and then you have your call to action.
Yeah.
Your call to action is when your hero is for the first time beckoned to go on the journey and said that come, this is your goal, we are going to achieve your goal. So over here, this is a fairly long sequence of call to action, refusal of the call, right? So let's explain what refusal of the call also is here so that we can talk about it jointly.
Yeah.
Refusal of the call is when, after your call to go follow this path, either you or someone in your life is just like, no, this is too scary, or I don't have the tools or implements to do this, or you shouldn't do this. Telling you that do not heed the call, ignore it, and stay where you are. Even though you don't have something, you're still comfortable where you are, right?
Right.
So over here, the first call to action kind of comes when there's an earthquake that strikes and everything is fine except Paresh Rawal's shop, which is fully destroyed in this earthquake, right? And it is at that time where people tell him to have more faith in God, like to be more respectful. It is because he's an atheist that things like this have happened. And he's essentially like, screw you, no, I'm going to the insurance company. The insurance company says, bruh, this is an act of God, like we can't help you out.
Yeah.
And Paresh Rawal essentially loses his shit there. And the insurance company says that, listen, if you have a problem, take it up with God. And Paresh Rawal goes into this fit of saying, take it up with God, fine. He takes the security guy's gun, steals it from him, and says, okay, you say that everyone is God, right? You're God, they're God, they're God. So if I shoot you, that means God has shot you. So that should be perfectly fine. Everything is an act of God. He's just refusing to believe in God.
Yeah.
And so this is another refusal of the call. And after that, he is on his terrace. He's with his colleague slash friend slash employee. And that's when he comes up with the brilliant idea of suing God.
Yeah.
Right? So he goes on to find different lawyers and advocates who will take on his case, but everyone calls him absolutely crazy for wanting to sue God, especially in a country as religious as ours, where that would bring on like the wrath of everyone.
Yeah.
Until he meets the mentor. Meeting your mentor is the next stage of your hero's journey. The mentor is a person who has essentially walked the path that you are now going to walk on. They have been where you are. And if your goal is to slay the dragon, they're the ones who tell you how to reach the cave. Here's the sword to kill the dragon, and anything else that you need to know in your journey to become who you need to become to slay the dragon.
Yeah.
Huh? So over here, his mentor is a lawyer called Hanif Qureshi, who has himself been a victim of the wrath of the people for fighting certain cases, and he has been disabled thanks to that. And he tells Paresh Rawal that, okay, I think you're fighting for a worthy cause, but if no lawyer is willing to fight your case, per law, you have the ability to fight this case for yourself, by yourself. And Paresh Rawal's like, okay, cool. And he files the case. And then you have crossing the threshold. Crossing the threshold is when you take your first steps into the new world, where you put your feet on the paths that will eventually take you to your goal, right? And over here, the crossing the threshold is the first session in court.
Yeah.
Which is where Paresh Rawal lays out all the facts of the case. He lays out his belief system, where he says that, okay, I've been paying insurance premiums, and I know I signed an insurance contract where they said that an act of God will not be permissible and will not be claimable. But what about all the premiums I've been paying to all the mandirs and all the pandits my whole life,
All the donation boxes.
Exactly. So, and over here we also establish the other party, which are all the, at this point, Hindu religious priests and godmen. Yeah. Godmen who are basically criticizing him for not having faith, for being a Nastic. And we see the we see the magnitude of the problems that he's going to be facing. And this ends when they're leaving the courthouse, and he's essentially given a warning that this is not going to be an easy path for you to tread. Right? And even though he's been given this warning, he's not going back. So that is how we know he has crossed the threshold into this new world. Now that he's crossed the threshold in this new world, he has to meet his tests, allies, and enemies, which is the next phase of your hero's journey. It is where you meet all these new people who are going to be part of your new world, and you're going to see who's going to support you, who's going to stand in your way, who is going to help you out, what sort of challenges you're going to face in this new world, right? And over here, we see the enemies in the form of godmen, politicians, and godmen politicians largely, and goons who are working at the behest of the godmen and politicians. And then you also have friends and allies. So over here, we are introduced to two of his biggest allies, and one is other people who have also been denied act of God claims, and they say that, look, we really need the money, and we've had our faith our whole life, and but when an act of God happens, like suddenly our faith stands for nothing. So we need this. And then you have the ultimate ally, who also takes on the role of a mentor, who plays the trope of a mentor character, which is God himself.
Yeah.
As presenting Akshay Kumar. And he takes on the role of Krishna, because Kanji, his name is Kanji, right?
Kanji Lalji
Mehta, yeah. Because Kanji is a Gujarati businessman, so because his faith is technically linked to Hinduism, he presents himself as Krishna. He says, if you'd have been Muslim or a Christian, I would have presented to you in another form. But God is essentially the same.
Yeah.
Right? And throughout his journey, Krishna keeps leading him to various paths that he can take and various clues to be able to fight this mission ahead. And there are some beautiful moments in there where he says things like, this is a big journey, but a journey like this has to be tread alone. That I am going to help you, but at the end of the day, you are the one who has to do what it takes. I will show you the direction, but you have to go to the manzil yourself.
Yeah.
So beautiful ideas of what spirituality actually is, what faith actually is incorporated in this phase. And finally, what happens is that Paresh Rawal's character starts getting a lot of national fame and support because his idea of religion is one where we serve each other. It's not all of these facades what government put up of donating, of putting milk on shivlings. He's like, I would rather give my milk to the needy. I would
Yeah.
rather help people than go into these mandirs all the time. And there is a lot of support. And
Hmm.
just when you think the case is in the bag, that is when he's told to present proof.
Hmm.
Proof that this was actually an act of God. They're like, all your stories are great, you have a great way with words, but
Hmm.
the court of law functions on the basis of evidence. So you need to
Written
present
evidence.
evidence
Yeah.
to see.
Yeah.
Yep. So while you think Paresh Rawal is fully stumped at this point, Krishna presents him with all religious texts, from the Bhagavad Gita to the Bible to the Quran. And then you have the approach to the innermost cave,
Hmm.
which is where you are finally fighting the case and
Hmm.
you are ready to win. So at this point, if you're, for example, going to slay the dragon, this is where you go and actually fight the dragon.
Hmm.
So over here, Paresh Rawal goes and gives his final presentation in
Hmm.
court, and
Hmm.
where he reads from the Bible, from the Gita, from the Quran, and he says that God says that
Hmm.
anything that happens on this planet
Hmm.
here has happened because of me. So I
Hmm.
am responsible.
Hmm.
And just when you think he has won the case, it's all good, he ends up having a paralytic attack. Which also,
Hmm.
sidebar, this is the second movie where someone's having a paralytic attack that we're like
In a
watching, like
courtroom.
Guru
Yeah.
also. Yeah, in a court. Right. And that is your ordeal. The ordeal is that now that you've slain the dragon and gotten your bag of gold, the dragon's, I don't know, family, the dragon's caretaker is after you, chasing after you, and now you are in a pickle.
Hmm.
This is his paralytic attack. He is in the hospital.
Hmm.
And then, while he is in the hospital, Krishna visits him.
Hmm.
And Krishna informs him that, buddy, you're in the hospital, but I will cure you. I will
Hmm.
show you a
Hmm.
miracle, a chamatkar. And
Hmm.
that is your reward. The
Hmm.
reward is what you get for finally leaving the dragon behind in your wake and dealing with the ordeal. So
Hmm.
Paresh Rawal is cured of his paralysis,
Hmm.
and he is rewarded with good health.
Hmm.
But he still has to make his way back home.
Hmm.
He is not back in the old world yet. And his way back is going to be very treacherous because Krishna shows him what has been going on in the world while
Hmm.
he has been in the hospital paralyzed for a month.
Hmm.
Which is this, that while Parishavala has proven that God is a farce in the way that your godmen peddling the idea to you, and religion shouldn't exist.
Hmm.
Krishna says one important thing कि लोगों से उनका धर्म मत छीनो, वो आपको ही अपना धर्म बना
हम बना
देंगे.
देंगे. Hmm.
And that is what we see on his way back, that now the godmen themselves have made a Paresh Rawal, who is in the hospital, another god. They
Hmm.
have colluded and they are planning to pull the plug on him and
Hmm.
say that he has decided to die and be our god.
Hmm.
And now they're turning him into a business. We see that it's a 400 crore empire for all this investment, even though he's won the case and the temples and everyone has to make a 400 crore insurance payout. By turning Kanji into a god, they will recoup all that money and
Hmm.
reinstill faith in everyone.
Hmm.
Paresh Rawal is shocked because he can't believe that after everything he's fought for,
Hmm.
that this is the state of affairs, that the world is still the same way it was, that they're looking for another savior, someone to
Hmm.
worship again.
Hmm.
So this is when he goes and he resurrects from the ashes, kind of almost literally to the in the public eye. Now he
Yeah.
resurrects, where he goes to a public gathering where there's a murti of him itself,
Hmm.
and he's like, "Guys, this is absolute nonsense."
Nonsense. Yeah.
Because I am no god. I'm just an ordinary mortal, and
Hmm.
who sees God in everyone. And the idol worship, all of that is absolute nonsense. They are just
Hmm.
trying to like shift your focus from me to another, from another god to me. And he destroys his own
Hmm.
murti.
Right.
And this is all thanks to the help he has received from Krishna.
Hmm.
So now he goes back into his old world where status quo has been established, his family is back, and Krishna has disappeared.
Hmm.
Except that now on the ground, he finds his keychain, which
Hmm.
the peacock feather keychain, which Krishna has been wielding, and he picks it up. and he hears God's voice, he hears Krishna's voice, and he's like, don't turn that keychain into a taviz. You're doing the
Yeah.
same idol worship nonsense that
Hmm.
we just told everyone not to do.
Yeah.
Have faith, I am everywhere.
Hmm.
And that is how he returns to his old world, now a new person, now someone with faith, and faith that God exists in everything.
Yeah.
Cool. You had a different hero's journey?
Um, just a little bit muddling up in the middle.
Hmm.
I thought that it had like two reward moments, like in the sense that one, like how we've had like multiple like multiple call to actions and multiple refusal of the call.
Hmm.
So I felt like this film also had a little bit of those phases in the center in multitudes, in the sense
Hmm.
that his approach to the innermost cave, I thought, so you like how you said the moment of the whole court case comes into test allies and enemies. I
Hmm.
I felt the need to divide that even more, in the sense that um his second hearing, where he presents his biggest monologues of the film, like you shouldn't put the milk on the shivling, and like now he has the backing of so many
Hmm.
people with him. That
Yeah.
becomes part of his approach to the inmost cave, because that's his big fight and appeal to the
Hmm.
authorities. And the ordeal now becomes, in his case, that he's
Hmm.
challenged that he needs to have written evidence. All this was great,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
like the legal system is the bigger
Hmm.
dragon here. Like you did your
Yeah.
fight, but you
Hmm.
still need to like fight the dragon, which is the legal system, that you need written
Yeah.
evidence. So that for me
Hmm.
became the ordeal. And
Hmm.
the reward becomes that he gets those books by Krishna's character saying like,
Hmm.
read the Bhagavad Gita, read the Bible, read the Quran. And
Yeah.
that becomes the reward in this case, for him to realize that, which helps him win the case eventually.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I thought the reward was was twofold, that he gets those books, he presents his case, and he also wins the case in that
It's
way.
the case. Yeah. Yeah.
And then the
Yeah.
road back is, again, is what you said, is similar then uske baad.
Similar, yeah. I had written the same thing as you. In fact, I'd said that the approach is the second last court trial, and then the
Yeah.
ordeal is that now present written evidence and stuff. But then I went back on it and I
Hmm.
rewrote it as this, because I thought that if your goal is to win the court case,
Yeah.
then your approach is like where you go and you try to win it, like the
Hmm.
final time. Like the
Right.
written evidence and stuff is just part of the new world. Like
Yeah.
that is what it, it's like in your test allies and enemies, because you're learning that, okay, I need written evidence. This is all great. This is all fun
Yeah.
and games.
Hmm.
But that was part of the new world for me. It wasn't like a new obstacle.
Hmm.
I was like, yeah, this
Hmm.
is fair.
Hmm.
So that is why I went and made that change.
Hmm.
I-
But I think emotionally they do the same job, essentially.
Hmm.
The beats do the
Yeah,
same job, what we're saying. And
definitely.
so, yeah, it's hence I didn't feel the need to like disagree so much, because it just felt like
Hmm.
what you've always said, an emotional piece of the hero's journey need to feel true.
Yeah,
And that's what they
true.
exactly do. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Exactly. Cool. So let's go into the theme of the film now.
Yeah.
Because, yeah. So, what is your theme? Your theme is the statement you want to make as an artist in your film.
Hmm.
The reason all of us become writers or artists of any kind is because we have a view on the world that we really feel the need to express, and our
Hmm.
art is a medium of expressing it.
Yeah.
In film, this is posed as a dramatic question where by the end of the film, you answer that question through your characters' actions, through their wins and losses, and you establish your view of the world through that.
Hmm.
So over here, the thematic question is very simple. Is does God actually exist? Right?
Yeah.
It is very simple, yeah. And the film answers it, but it says yes, that God exists, but he doesn't exist in temples, in
Yeah.
murtis thing. He exists everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But I
And
framed the
hmm,
dramatic question in a slightly longer way, like, does God
hmm,
exist? And if
hmm,
yes, where to find them? It's like,
hmm.
it's because it's the same thing, like,
Yeah,
essentially,
yeah.
because the elixir moment really like
Yeah.
honed this question in that
Yeah.
don't do the mistake what you've been preaching everybody else, you know? That
Exactly.
that he wants to
Exactly.
save that keychain thinking that this is like one
Hmm.
small souvenir, something I'll remember God
Yeah.
by. And then he
Yeah.
gets the voice of God saying that don't do this. You don't need
Yeah.
something to remember me by. I'm everywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So that is essentially your character arc, right? So the
Yeah.
easiest way to play out your theme, to demonstrate your theme, is have a strong main character
Hmm.
who your characters align with, who your audiences align with, sorry,
Yeah.
and who eventually changes to reflect the message that you want. So your
Yeah.
audience goes on the journey with them because of the empathy you've created, and they buy your point of view, or that's how your
Hmm.
point of view is established.
Hmm.
So over here we have Paresh Rawal, who is an atheist, and he, over the course of this journey, develops faith.
Faith.
And we as an audience develop faith too.
Yeah.
And it says that, yes, you can have God in your life, and God is everywhere.
Hmm.
And the fact that he needed a, like you said, souvenir
Hmm.
is essentially what the film is talking about. What I felt is the fact that we are asked to have faith,
Hmm.
and then we want proof of our faith. And
Yeah.
proof and faith are two contradictory concepts, because faith
Yeah.
implies not needing proof.
And also like
But
not just proof, but display of your faith. Like
faith,
that's
ex-
important, right? Like that's what
exactly.
the like people tell us that, like you visited
Yeah,
this temple, not tell people you
yeah.
visited this temple,
This temple. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Your
Hmm.
faith needs to be performative. It can't
Yeah.
just be something you have personally.
Internally, whereas faith's an internal
Yeah,
concept, right? Like,
internal concept.
yeah.
Yeah. Hmm. So yeah, that is the theme of your film. Cool. Let's go into scenes and sequences next.
Yeah.
Hmm. The first scene I want to talk about is a technique called foreshadowing.
Hmm.
Now, foreshadowing is when you give people a hint of the conflict that is about to come.
Hmm.
And then when it actually comes, you realize that, oh,
Oh,
okay, so this is the idea all along.
yeah.
The reason you do foreshadowing is so that your characters, your audiences are not completely in the dark, and also that they feel a little bit like in on the
Included.
story.
Yeah.
Yeah, that we've been left, they're involved, there are a few clues to solve, they feel
Hmm.
smart.
Hmm.
Right? So over here, as Paresh Rawal is leaving his shop early on in the film,
Yeah.
another shopkeeper called Mohammed says that he is going on a Hajj. And Paresh Rawal says, listen, instead of going on Hajj and spending your money there, spend it on your dukan, which is falling apart, and repair it.
Hmm. Hmm.
And just then, a couple of cycle walas who are peddling a big mirror
Hmm.
cycle by. So
Hmm.
this was done in a very interesting way, I thought, because first you have the exact thing which he is going to face, that his shop is going to come under and he's going to have to repair it and need money. And he is going to have to call his faith into that, much like
Hmm.
this guy is going on Hajj. And the second is they are literally showing him a mirror that
Yeah.
this is going to happen to you.
Yeah.
So this is a wonderful way of foreshadowing on both a dialogue and a visual level.
Rebel. Hmm. Very
Right.
interesting. Huh. Yeah.
Next, I want to talk about act of God itself.
Hmm.
So, what in when the concept of an act of God is explained, it is at the insurance office where the insurance agent is explaining an act of God to Paresh Rawal.
Hmm.
Now, this is first we have a technique of exposition where a
Hmm.
character who doesn't know something is at the same level as your audience,
Hmm.
is being explained something by someone who has the information. So it's giving exposition through a character who is at the same level of your audience. So that's when
Hmm.
you're allowed to say things as is.
Hmm.
And also, this whole act of God bit is also a gift.
Hmm.
A gift is something you give your audiences when they come to watch the film, something about the world which they wouldn't have known otherwise.
Hmm.
So, a lot of people who don't know much about insurance or haven't dealt with these situations don't really know what act of God or force majeure is. So, they come in and they have watched this film, and the film tells them that, hey, now you know something new. You have a gift. This is a gift
Hmm.
we're giving you.
Yeah.
So, if you are a writer who's especially writing something genre or niche specific, you really want to give your audiences a gift because that is your way of sharing more with the world.
I want to talk about the technique of contrast first in one of the scenes where the first time he is in the court and he puts his argument forth to the judge that why my case should be accepted. And finally, after listening to him, all the the judge really agrees that yes, your case is accepted in the court of law.
Hmm.
Now we will begin the battle. So it's a moment of huge victory, right?
Hmm.
Now, and what Kanji does is that he accosts these three, four godmen in the court who were his opponents in that moment. And he tells
Hmm.
them that, see, this is what I've done now. You know, you be ready to pack your bags.
Hmm.
And he does a victory walk outside the court along with his friend slash employee. And as
Hmm.
soon as he goes out, you see that hundreds of other godmen are actually opposing him. They are like with
Hmm.
like placards and like wanting to hit him. Now you you had such a moment of victory for your character,
Hmm.
and now you contrast it with immediate threat. So I thought
Yeah.
that technique was done really nicely in this particular scene. It
Yeah.
wouldn't have mattered unless if they hadn't shown that victory walk, because that
Hmm.
should really heighten the intensity of how victorious he is feeling in this moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I thought this was done very interestingly. And while we're on this scene, I want to talk about the technique of mirroring a scene, which
Hmm.
is um, now he is standing in front of the court outside, in front of these hundreds of godmen, and the lead godman, which is Mithun Chakravarti's character, which I thought he was amazing.
Amazing. It's so camp. I loved
He's
it.
so camp. Uh,
Yeah.
he comes from behind कि हमको तो ये सब बोल दिया, इनसे कैसे बचोगे?
Hmm.
So, and what ends up happening in the later scene, I think it's like four scenes after or something, when Kanji has won the support of a lot of other people who had also like claims for act of God,
Hmm.
and now they're coming out of the court, and
Yeah.
these four godmen are now facing hundreds of these other complainants who also like
Hmm.
suffered through the act of God. And
Yeah.
uh, Kanji's character does the same thing कि अब इनसे कैसे बचोगे तुम. Uh,
Yeah.
so I thought that mirroring was very intentional. Uh,
For sure.
and
And it's a
again,
callback also, right?
yeah, it's a callback also, correct.
Yeah.
Uh, Again, in the rule of callback is that the nature of relationship has now changed because the
Hmm.
status quo has now changed, right? Somebody
Changed.
like the godmen felt they were in power, but now
Hmm.
Kanji is in power actually.
In power. Yep.
So
Yep.
that was pretty cool. Another small mirroring scene which I had was that
Hmm.
um, his daughter, after his family has like left him, his daughter was sitting in a cafe with a couple of her friends. And initially, like when they're talking about this case of this guy who sued God, uh,
Hmm.
she feels a little embarrassed to be like, to even say that,
Yeah.
oh, this is her dad. And later on, when she watches him on television or in the same cafe along with her friends, she finally accepts and says, hey, by the way, this is my dad.
My dad, yeah.
Yeah,
So it's essentially a character change technique, right?
technique, huh?
Mirroring, where you put
Yeah,
one character in the same situation,
yeah,
and you see how their reaction changes, or you change the situation and keep the character the same and
yeah,
see how the character now reacts to it. Because I think, in the daughter character's point of view, she's quite a fickle character in that sense, right? Because
yeah,
while her dad is low, she's like embarrassed. Then when
yeah,
he's winning, she's like, Acha, he's my dad.
yeah.
So it's like, Acha, you're not
It's
there with him through
convenient
thick and thin.
plotting at times.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And like weak characteristics, right?
yeah,
Like it's
yeah,
a weak
yeah,
character.
yeah.
So
I mean,
over
again, like this film has done no effort on building characters of anybody else apart from
hmm,
Kanji, right?
yeah.
Uh, like his entire world is just one note, right? Like,
Yeah.
and because I think it's a problem of a film like this, which is like just it's this film is essentially like what I personally conceptualize in my head is like a one joke film, right? Like
Mm,
in the sense that the whole mutta about this film is just this, right? So like you'll explore nothing else. Like there is no um difference of opinion from any way, just but like it's like one person, like
mm,
there's this one big moral our guy has, and everybody's against it,
yeah.
you know. But
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
not life, that's not life.
No, it's not
So
life.
so
Yeah.
hence this film becomes a little, you will
It's
find these things.
polarizing.
Yeah, it's polarizing, and you
Yeah.
will find this sort of convenient plotting
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
you essentially are basing the entire film on one person's ideology.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that falls into a trap a little bit. One last technique I want to talk about is the technique of misdirection in one of the scenes,
Hmm.
where after the earthquake, Kanji and his family are sort of analyzing their shop and like what's left of it. Uh, Everybody's telling him, now can you please believe that God exists?
Hmm.
And he's like, come on, like I still don't believe God exists. Like if something should happen to me right now. And in that moment, you have a point of view shot from like above the shop, you know,
Hmm.
where you think that something might fall on him that in that
Yeah.
moment. So again, like upping the conflict in that case, like, oh, this guy is gonna get more screwed over right now,
Hmm.
only to realize that nothing happens in that moment, but it comes back later when he is in a problem and it's a similar kind of point of view shot, but it's actually
Hmm.
God watching him.
God.
It's Akshay Kumar's
Yeah.
character watching him. So I
Yeah.
thought that was an interesting misdirection and also
Yeah.
foreshadowing of some way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had one more thing I wanted to talk about,
Hmm,
which is delayed gratification.
hmm,
So we have Akshay Kumar's entry as God, and it's a phenomenal scene where he's on a bike and he's rescuing Paresh Rawal from goons.
hmm,
And they've established him as a fun character, which we'll talk about when we go into character creation.
hmm,
So immediately you want to see more of him.
hmm,
But the moment he drops him off at the house
hmm,
on his bike, they end the scene with Akshay Kumar.
hmm,
And you take Paresh Rawal's character, which is now on a high because he's been rescued, to an absolute low where his family is leaving him. The whole mahalla is like calling him names and calling him nastic and all of that. And he goes and he's sitting in the room alone. And
hmm,
as an audience, you're like, you are waiting for more of Akshay Kumar, but they're
hmm,
not giving it to you yet.
hmm,
And only once Paresh Rawal gets a little drunk,
hmm,
that's when they bring God back in. And you're like, oh my God, yes.
hmm.
Because, oh my God. Okay. Yeah.
You know, when we're like promoting this episode, we should like
Yeah.
put that Janice from Friends as like clip of like, oh my god.
God, yeah. So what they do is if you know something is like you know God's gonna come, right? That's
Hmm,
in the title of the film, that's the premise
hmm,
of the film. How and everyone's waiting for it. How do you delay that gratification
hmm,
so that when it finally comes and you get to spend more time with this character, the audience is hungry for it?
hmm.
So delaying gratification, like they do it in rom-coms all the time. Like how
Yeah.
long can you wait for the kiss?
Yes. Yeah.
So over
I feel
here,
like delayed gratification they did with the God character in one more way, which was
hmm,
that like all this time you've seen him in like suits and like really good
hmm,
casual wear, and
yeah,
he asks him like, "Hey, why are you not in this crown and like all these different
hmm,
clothes?" He's like, "Will I not have a different style?"
yeah,
But as an audience, you're curious to know what this would be like. And
yeah,
only until the final moment, when in the road back moment, where in the hospital,
yeah,
he actually presents himself in the full avatar of like how
yeah,
we've seen gods in the whole crown and like all these like
yeah,
trunk and all these things. So yeah,
exactly.
yeah, pretty
Yeah.
cool. I hadn't thought of it until now. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, because you want to see that avatar essentially.
that
But
visual of God.
God, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Which again brings us back to the theme of this film, right? We want our belief to look a certain way. We want to believe that God is
yeah,
someone greater than us. This is
yeah,
all encompassing, like
yeah,
carrying weapons, wielding. You can't believe that God is in a bird or that
yeah,
God is
yeah,
in you. It
yeah.
is again that for him to also finally believe that I'm in the presence of God, he has to conform to the norm.
Yeah.
Do you want to go into genre tropes next?
Sure. I don't have any. I don't have
Okay,
any.
I have one genre trope essentially, which is in a courtroom drama.
Hmm,
While this is not the best example of it, because usually, like what your genre trope is that in a courtroom drama, it has to feel like a tennis match or a boxing
hmm,
match.
hmm,
There has to be sparring. Without that, your courtroom drama falls flat.
hmm,
So in this film, I wouldn't say it's the best example because every time it's one party who's winning and either they lose at the end, right?
Yeah.
But I'd say that the first courtroom session where his case is accepted is a decent example of a sparring match between Paresh Rawal's character and the Godman. Because Paresh Rawal goes in and says that, okay, insurance, this and that. And then the other party says, but you signed on this contract. There's no act of God. Like, you've been paying premiums, but we're not refunding this. And he's like, okay, but I've been paying premiums to like all the mandirs. I've been doing my donation there. Then the God side comes up and says that, where is your faith? You're a Nastic. Obviously, God will do stuff like this to you because you don't even believe.
Yeah.
So this is like, how can the reason you have a sparring scene, the reason it's a genre trope, is because ideally in a courtroom drama, you want your audience to keep wondering who is going to win. So for that, you have to have both of them present very solid cases. And because if only one side presents a solid case, then there's nothing to watch. It's like a one-sided show. It's like boring, right? You don't want to watch a one-sided tennis match. Like, so you have to keep it going by having them spar with each other. So I thought that is a genre trope that we should bring out while doing like a courtroom drama.
Now that you talk about this is like the courtroom drama and stuff, I can think of one more genre trope, which is the final evidence. So what I've observed in a lot of films is that the party like whom the audience is sort of favoring, they will be challenged that you need to provide one last point of evidence that you haven't done so far. And the character doesn't know where that evidence will come from, what will happen. And you see this big long period of like them going into almost existentialism that what will happen now. And ultimately, somehow directly into the courtroom session, we will see that character pulling out of their hat this one big evidence, and then we go into detail how it came to him. So I think of films like Etra's Anatomy of a Fall, all these movies where the film relied on one final evidence. And this becomes essential in a courtroom drama because had this evidence come earlier, the case would have been very simple. You would have won the case immediately and there would be no film. And that's also that's a little bit how real life court cases are. Like, you think going in that, oh, I'll submit these 3 evidences and I think I should be fine. But they're like, oh, this is not enough. We need more from you, more proofs we need. So in this film, that's exactly what happens. He goes into it thinking that I have so much material and like, I'm going to give this one big monologue about giving milk and like, there's no God and like how it's all a scam. Ultimately, he's told, but get us proof. And now we have the sequence of him like going to like, him walking on the street, somebody approaching him for money. Like he doesn't know what to do. And like it goes into a moment of like him getting these books by Krishna's character that like, read this. We still don't know what's going to happen until we finally come to know that those books had the actual evidence of what he's going to present in court.
The final turning point.
The final turning point, the final evidence.
Let's get into dialogue next. When it comes to dialogue, I wanted to talk about keeping dialogues very relevant to the character, like doing a pass on it. And we spoke about this in Munna Bhai, where we said that how in Munna Bhai they would have done a bhai pass for dialogue and checked everywhere that this is correct. Like, and when he calls headphones ko stethoscope, and stethoscope for headphones and stuff. So over here, and they point this out too, I feel like they must have done a businessman pass thoda in some places with Kanji. Because when he's in court, he says that wo Ganpati ka stall lagta tha. He's like, ye stall nahi hai. Like, it's a mandir. And he's like, maine premium bhara. Like, no, that's donation. So I feel like they would have done a pass on this, maybe at least in critical scenes, like the courtroom scenes, where they especially needed to elevate the fact that he is a businessman and that's how he thinks. And I also think
he's done it in other scenes also, like when he's buying those murtis for the first time. I've noted this.
Yeah.
He says ki Durga Ma dena, but wo tiger wali.
Huh.
You know?
Huh.
So
Huh.
like he has no attachment to these. He's treating them
No.
exactly as commodities. Like for bade pet wala
Exactly.
Ganpati, this tiger wali Durga
Yeah.
Ma. Like that's how he's describing them. So I thought
Yeah. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was very funny also.
Funny. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So very well done in that sense that it's
Yeah.
keeps the dialogue true to the character.
Yeah.
And even in they've done a reverse of this in Krishna's case,
Hmm.
where he's trying to blend in with the modern world, and he has
Yeah.
very well. But sometimes he has slip ups.
Huh.
So because he's hiding, so how do you bring that character out even in plain sight? Like give a little bit of a clue.
Hmm.
So when a neighbor comes and she finds Krishna in the house, like आपकी पत्नी, like हाँ 16,000. He's like नहीं 16 से है.
Huh.
So there he can't be like I have 16,000 gopias. So
Yeah.
there they have to give a little error that ki
Yeah.
I am actually to remind you that they are God.
Yeah.
So even when at one point he says tathastu, and he's like, no, I promise.
Huh.
So these are ways to remind you through dialogue that the character is in disguise and this
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
they are.
Yeah. Very good observation. I want to talk about this dialogue, which is said, it happens in the hospital, where uh, Krishna's character tells him कि when people can't come and worship me, they blame me only कि भगवान ने नहीं बुलाया.
Hmm.
Now, I feel now this film survives on dialogue, right? Like
Hmm.
the structure and screenplay is a little bare bones. So like
Yeah.
the reason this film survives is the dialogue work. And how I feel like these writers, what they have done is that think about every religious crack or like
Yeah.
facet which we
Yeah.
like hear about or like read about or think
Hmm.
about have been thrown at us, and they have sort of examined, dissected, questioned it, and then put them in the film in different ways.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
so whether it comes about like very small moments, like one I thought was this very strongly like Bhagwan ne nahi bulaya ki
Hmm.
it's a thing that I have heard many times that like
Yeah.
somebody's
बुलावा नहीं आया है अभी
आया,
तक.
हाँ, that
हाँ.
somebody's trip to Vaishno Devi got cancelled and they'll be like कि
Hmm.
इस बार भगवान की मर्जी नहीं होगी, हम
Hmm.
अगली बार जब बुलाएंगे तो they'll go. And
Hmm.
similarly, like these come into use this technique because in all the court case moments where like he is talking about like which car do you think who has been in an accident doesn't have a Ganpati in it, you know.
Hmm.
Now
Yeah.
that only comes if you have thought about every possible
Yeah.
religious scenario and like
Yeah.
put them in your dialogue work in a very thematic way. So
Yeah.
so I thought this technique they must have had to do throughout the film because that's the only thing the
Yeah.
movie is working on essentially.
Hmm.
So they've
Absolutely.
done a good job with it. And what they have done, use this technique to craft monologues. Which
Hmm.
is my other thing about the dialogue in this film is that in all these court cases, Kanji gives these big monologue moments. Now we have established that monologues are a big no-no until they talk about a universal truth. So when Kanji says that somebody said, if you want to win this court case, go and put milk on the shivling. He's like, okay,
Hmm.
I'll go and do that. I went inside the temple. I thought like everybody is standing with their bottles of milk, and oh, there'll be somebody to drink this, consume this,
Hmm.
use it. And then I went inside and saw there is nobody. Like we have to put this on
Hmm.
this stone essentially. And they're like,
Hmm.
okay, fine. But then like I thought this milk will go somewhere and somebody else will be waiting. To only to
Hmm.
realize it was not. It was going to into a gutter
Hmm.
actually.
Hmm.
And somebody there was thinking, waiting that can I consume this milk because I'm hungry. Now
Yeah.
these are all very real things. Like this
Please.
is a
Yeah.
universal truth of the whole religious
Hmm.
practice of putting milk on a shivling. Now
Yeah.
this only works because it's a universal truth. Hence, the
Truth.
monologue
Yeah.
becomes interesting, and it's something
Yeah.
like it's like a stand-up piece essentially, right? Like the
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
you're pulling in the audience by telling them something they haven't thought about, but it's a
Hmm.
truth. So
Truth. Yeah.
yeah, so I thought this technique was used brilliantly in this film.
Definitely. Yes. For
Yeah,
sure. Next, let's go into character creation.
yeah,
So when it comes to character creation, I want to talk about characters' entries.
Hmm.
So first, let's talk about Paresh Rawal's entry.
Hmm.
You want to introduce a character through their most defining and thematic characteristic that you are going to see in a film going forward. With Paresh Rawal, it is his atheism.
Hmm.
So the moment you see him, I think one of the first lines of dialogues he says is कि मरने के बाद ही आत्मा क्यों अशांत हो जाती है? Like,
Yeah.
so immediately you get a sense that he is questioning this whole religious thing. Ki, why do you have to give an Atma Shanti? Shant kyun ho jati hai?
Huh.
The next thing you see is him filling tap water in a Ganga Jal ka bottle.
Yeah.
So immediately you know that this man is going to be dealing with this. And of course, as
Yeah.
you said, this is a one joke film.
Yeah.
So they've done that right off the bat because it is his most defining characteristic.
Yeah.
And similarly, in Akshay Kumar's character as Krishna. Krishna is essentially the one who's saving the day. He is the mentor. So the mentor is a trope of a character who will assist you throughout your journey and help you uncover whatever's coming in your way and guide you, right? And this is not to be confused with a structural mentor in the hero's journey, which can be any person who helps you at that point of the film. They may or may not be the mentor who guides you through the rest of the film. And I know that a lot of people watching this are just like, "Arey dil se likho yaar." Who thinks about like structural mentor and ye mentor? But the thing is, you have to know that that mentor is going to come at that point, and that your characters can change. By knowing these rules, you can play with the rules and realize that things are fluid, right?
Yeah. And meeting the mentor is a very dil se likha hua moment, right? Like it is,
Yeah.
you'll need somebody to tell you, ki,
Yeah.
boss, this is the journey you have to go on. Like you
Yeah.
have no other choice. This is the stake you're at. So it's
Yeah.
a very real thing anyway. Like we've just not we, but like the rules have just been given names to these real things.
Things. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure. So Krishna is playing a mentor trope, a savior
Yeah.
trope, and that's how his introduction is planned too.
Yeah.
That he is Paresh Rawal's character is being chased by goons, and Krishna, with our hero on the bike, jumps in, and there's a phenomenal chase sequence where he rescues him. So introducing characters as their most important defining thematic quality is how you craft a solid entry scene. Right? And in Akshay Kumar's case, I also wanted to talk about the modernization of a typical character.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, like this is, we're not watching the Mahabharata or the Ramayana where you're going to see God in his original form in wearing mukotievo. So, but you still want elements, right? And we spoke about elements in terms of dialogue where he has slip ups in terms of Sola Hazar and, all of that. But over here too, now while they've kept him modern as a you and me, they have also brought in his typical facets. Like he has eaten a thing of makhan because he is Krishna. He's going to eat all your butter up, Then there is this whole sense of nonchalance to him. If you've noticed throughout the film. Like, nothing affects him and he says it also, "Arey, mujhe kuch nahi hota hai." So even while he's being a human, they have what is God is universal energy. Nothing can happen to him. He can't be tampered with. So they bring in that element even while he's in his human form. Then we also have the fact that Krishna wears this, what do you call it? He has peacock feathers. So again, they can't have him in full garb. So they give him a bracelet of a peacock feather. His keychain is that of a peacock feather. So little reminders through modern and
peacock feather.
peacock feathers. Yeah. Nice. Great job, team production design. Like really good job. So all of these little elements that serve as reminders but modernize so that they're not completely out of place in the world go into creating a character like this.
Very interesting. While you're also talking about entry shots, I also want to talk about the entry shots of the villains in the movie, which is the godmen. So Siddheshwar Maharaj, the bald godman, he is set up as this Maharaj in this political rally or something.
Yeah.
And then like in the first shot, you're like, okay, he is somebody like this guy. And the next time you see him in the second cut, you're like, till when will we have to sit here? you know? So
Yeah.
so you immediately know that he's not a genuine guy, right?
No.
So that's
Yeah.
again like a complete like different image of what we thought he would be, but he's not. Like right from the
Yeah.
get-go, we know he's not a good guy. And the
Hmm.
second one, when we have Mithun Chakrabarti's character's introduction, he walks into this field, but uske pehle he dips his toes into this red liquid, whatever it
Yeah.
is, and then
Yeah.
he puts his feet on the white paper, and there you see like a price tag.
Price
It's one
tag.
of one and
Yeah.
a half lakh rupees. So you know that, oh, this is just a business for this guy. You know,
Yeah.
it's not hidden at all. It's a proper out in the open that this is what this character is. So
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah. And it's a so thematic choice to introduce them like this, right? Because
yeah,
if your film was about uncovering the fact that are
yeah,
these godmen real or false, you wouldn't introduce them
choose
like this. You
that.
would let this
Correct.
surface later, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
here from the get go, you want to establish that these are the bad guys. So you
yeah,
establish that right off the start.
yeah. Can I have a question which I actually haven't been able
Hmm.
to like figure out, which is that why do you think that they made Paresh Rawal's character also had a shop of idols? Like,
Hmm.
he doesn't believe in God himself.
Hmm.
So, like, what is the merit of that idea? Like, I understand it's interesting and it's multiple layering of his character, which is a good
Yeah.
thing. But how does it differentiate? Like, why do we feel so differently about his character, who is also monetizing God, and
Hmm.
these godmen's character who are also like essentially monetizing God? Like, very obviously, like both the facts are not hidden from us.
So to answer that question, I would say, what's the difference between Jeff Bezos and someone who works at Amazon?
Hmm. Hmm.
It's the same idea, right? One person is essentially creating the system, and the
Huh.
other is someone trying to survive within a system that has been created. So
Hmm.
I think Kanji is just an ordinary man. He's you and
Man,
me. He doesn't have the
me,
power to
power,
create that much change. He's just
ecosystem.
like, dude,
Yeah,
I need to make my living and this is an
yeah,
easy way to do it. But is
yeah,
he personally responsible? I mean, the answer to that is yes and no. You can talk about the Nuremberg trials where you say that
yeah,
I was only following orders is not a valid defense,
yeah.
which is which is a morally correct stance to take that I would
Correct.
not. But it's also the complexities of being human, right?
Yeah,
That
yeah,
you are working in a system that's stacked against you. So
yeah,
how are you going to kind of make a change or how
yeah.
are you going to cope? You're balancing that. And that is something which capitalism inherently has built into it,
Built
right?
into.
Moral guilt, where people
Hmm.
like you and me are made to feel like guilty for
Hmm.
doing things which we are just doing to survive.
Yeah,
Vis-a-vis the billionaires who have no fucks to give about anything, have no
yeah.
moral qualms. Like
But
they don't care. But by making you feel guilty, they trap you into this system. So that
uh,
is my answer to your question.
that's a, thank you for answering that. That's really like good. Yeah. And I feel like one another the one reason that why we feel one as a villain and one as a hero is I think
Hmm.
which we've spoken about, like even though our main character is doing these ambiguous, amoral, gray things, is that I think he's been given so much charm and humor, right? Like we
Yeah.
see them like he's constantly joking and like he's constantly has such a fun spin on life. He's very like good with his
Hmm.
words. So I think
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that was one of the I think one distinguishing technique between these two characters who essentially have a little bit like same ways of working,
Hmm.
but like how do you have different kind of audience connectivity with each of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
For sure.
uh I want to talk one last thing about
Hmm.
Akshay Kumar's character, the character of God, and how
Hmm.
they've used the element of fantasy in this almost realistic movie, right? Like
Yeah.
now I was actually thinking that why did they need this element at all? Firstly, like
Hmm.
like they could have had a separate character, not as of Akshay, not of the god. Like like that lawyer's
Hmm.
character was a good enough foil for our main character if that relationship would have been explored more. But
Yeah.
that didn't happen. And I went on to research a little bit more about the original film,
Hmm.
the man who sued God, and I realized they
Yeah.
didn't have this god character there. So
Oh.
which got me thinking even more that why did they need to put here? Now,
Hmm.
I came to the conclusion that because we're in a country which is like so heavy on religion, and we will how will we build empathy for our main character, which is that he is constantly doing these things, calling out the practices that we as an audience have probably like been
Hmm.
involved in, right? So you're constantly oscillating between, do we root for him or do we not root for him, right?
Hmm.
Now, but with the introduction of this god character, you know that he's a good guy no matter what.
Yeah.
Of
Because
course, we
God has
have
come to him.
God has come to him. Now, of course,
Right.
we already have empathy for him because of the sufferings we're seeing in his life. But this is just an extra padding which his character gets, is that
Hmm.
no matter what he says and no matter what he does, God is with him. And even though he doesn't believe in it, which the God is okay with. So ideally,
Hmm.
as an audience, we should be okay with too.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
thought that was a great use of
Very well done. Yeah.
very good use of God's character, and like it
Yeah.
has
Very well
material
noted.
significance now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very, very cool. Very well noted. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
Nice. Another thing I just wanted to talk about is the world of the film
Hmm.
and how they have never strayed from the world for a second.
Hmm.
So, like, even Paresh Rawal's kid, when we first see him, he is also introduced through a dahi handi immersion experience,
Yeah.
right? They could have introduced the kid in any fashion, but
Fashion.
they
Yeah.
purposely wanted to do it because it's set in the world of God, like of
Yeah.
religion, right? Then even the foreshadowing moment of Hajj and all, like even if it weren't a foreshadowing moment,
Could be
they would have
normal
still
trip.
kept
Huh.
the
Yeah.
interaction, yeah, to have the connotation of God to attach to it because that is the word. They
Yeah.
can exchange any words in passing, but they will exchange words about God,
God.
right? Then even the first court case ka date is
Hmm.
on Ganesh Chaturthi. You see
Huh.
Ganesh in the background. Like
Yeah.
that could have been any date, but
Yeah.
Ganesh is what Shubharam, like new
Yeah.
beginnings. So they
Yeah.
purposely set it there. So
Yeah.
they've been very cognizant of keeping every moment like thematically relevant to the world.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. And I think one moment where they haven't stayed true to the characters is
Yeah.
where the daughter is in a cafe with her friends. Why is
Yeah.
she not in a temple
At a
with her friends?
temple. Correct. Correct. Praying for her father. Yeah.
Father, yeah.
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 Yeah. So yeah, that's all I have on Oh My God. What about you?
Yeah, me too. That's all I have. Oh my God.
Cool. Well, thank you guys for tuning into another episode of the Breakdown Besties podcast. You know the drill. Like, share, subscribe. If you have any questions or suggestions, leave it down in the comments. And next week, we will be back with Karthik calling Karthik. That is another episode recommended by one of our lovely viewers. So we're so thrilled that we get to do this for you and for ourselves. So thank you for your recommendation. And we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.